bulldozers because they wouldn't have cared. But you go back out there, just put massive stone and just build that up because they're all, if you come
See that whole ledge?
yeah, because that ledge is under, it gets complete, I mean, the grass 35 tends a lot. When the tide goes down enough, it just stops. And most of it just stops 90% of the day. If that was filled, like that would make, it wouldn't cost so crazy.
No, those are almost freestanding, you know, coming up somewhere around.
Yeah.
You know, so you could, even a short one,
Yeah.
you could have a pretty good block.
You said it's a ledge up on top, like up the
Me
beach.
with a Morgan deep
then
pool, you could go down
build
Weaver's
this.
Ledge and that'd be okay.
Yeah.
Concrete.
I mean,
it's
it
like
just-
on the beach,
it-
around the
something
base of the mountain.
skills, they just-
So that's starting to get out of the
Take it
way
out.
right now. It's a mess. So, I don't
The
know.
town documents, which I know is a portion over this.
It had a very big
I
section.
told him
of
call
it,
Cody
and it came under
and
there.
just see if
No
we
saying
got time
you
right now.
gotta
Like,
pull back down.
He gets back building.
All of a sudden, for now, I mean,
I called Cody. I don't know.
I didn't split it,
figured,
but the 6x8s were
It's the only other option, really. I told him, I said, if you really can't
I
get
mean,
anyone
that's,
to do it,
I mean, you think about it, that's 3 times
Yeah.
within a 2-month period.
No, I know.
I don't know, like, it's something barge going fast enough, I can go down and wax a pile and
Going down in there, I mean, it's like
getting
4 feet of water
water.
top of that road in that
Yeah,
last
it's
spot.
up in Nucleus right now.
That's an
I
easy
didn't go down in
fill.
there.
It's one of those things, man.
That's a good
20 by 50,
an
an
easy
easy
square
square,
fill in.
4 foot tall.
You just took that swoop up the
Yeah.
bottom.
Trying to get a crane going up to my
That's still a lot of
twins,
material,
the-
though, bring that
oh,
4
yeah,
feet.
Lima,
Yep.
or Lima,
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's a lattice boom crawler, 471. We had it rolling over the other day, but it started needing some.
I couldn't believe how hard it was blowing down the ledge.
Yeah. But we were saying, I put easily right to it, and it didn't expire once.
And he was watching the Mike Bonus, and one of those gusts came.
Like I thought, it should have expired.
Yeah.
Something straight ether, but he said the blower shafts are known to blow in those, to snap. So it's like, it's a pretty
We had
easy
an
fix,
old
you take the
friend
cap
around
off, take the
there
clip out,
a couple
pull the
days
shaft
ago.
out, he goes, I think I got one. So, really? Hopefully that's it, he's good. We'll see. Cause that'll be pretty cool. It's got like 60, 65 feet of boom.
Yeah, I mentioned it, Jesse.
Small enough to
You
fit
mentioned
on that.
electrical. That's all
Yeah.
electrical, isn't it, in there?
Yeah, I think so.
That thing
Probably
was sitting there just
prices
getting
probably
beat
Oh,
up.
yeah, it's just flashing right
It's
over.
got trees growing up around it, it's been there so long.
All right, I've got 5 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order today, Monday, March 11th, 2024. Roll call, Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Eric Eaton, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, Town Manager Jesse Dunbar, and Town Clerk Sarah Abbott. Adoption of agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to change on the agenda? Okay, next we have approval of minutes. We have the minutes from March 4th.
A motion to approve the minutes from March 4th, 2024.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from Monday, March 4th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Approval of warrants. Got a short list this week. We've got warrant 83 for $14,529. 84 for $49,680.57.
I make a motion to approve warrants 83 and 84.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve warrants 83 and 84. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, now we have regular business. First thing we have is law enforcement proposals. We have both the Hancock County Sheriff's Office here and also someone from Southwest Harbor to answer any questions anyone has. I'll let Jesse get into more detail, but there is a updated proposal from Southwest Harbor that took out a lot of the dispatch and clarifies some stuff. The new proposal amount is $336,393.50 when the department is fully staffed. Is there anything you want to add to that, Jesse, or would you like?
Yep, I just, I want to start out by just making a general statement, that while I care deeply about the residents and their protection here in Tremont and ultimately want what's best for the community, I just want to make clear that it is up to the select board The updated contract proposal from Southwest, as Jamie alluded to, they have adjusted the dispatch cost. Your original proposal, they had come up with a formula that charged just over $91,000 for the dispatching services. Following your last meeting, I had a conversation with Chief Hall about whether or not that amount should match what they charge the ambulance service or be lower. And so he thought that was a reasonable request at this time, has updated the proposal to reflect that change. There was also some discussion since the last meeting that though Southwest Harbor and Bar Harbor have used the term 24/7 in their coverage, there is a difference between the proposals, so we asked Southwest to just clarify what exactly they were proposing in regards to the 24/7 coverage. Bar Harbor is proposing 24/7 patrol and emergency response, so their vehicle would be in Tremont 24 hours a day somewhere, providing that service. Southwest Harbor is providing 24/7 response, but their patrol would average between 3 and 4 hours a day. Chief Hall can clarify or answer any questions around it. But they would not have a vehicle present in Tremont 24/7, such as Bar Harbor is proposing. Then he also goes into an explanation of what the service would provide, beginning July 1st, theoretically, where they are currently have open positions. He clarifies that their coverage in Southwest is currently 19 hours, and then response from on-duty officers from home, that would then transition to 24 hours a day when those positions are filled.
And this is, just to be clear, this 336,000 number is when fully staffed, so until, I know everyone is trying to hire, until that position is fully staffed, then it would be reduced amount from that.
And that's my understanding.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's just I've talked with both Maryland and accounting, and I don't know exactly how they're going to
Okay.
figure that out,
Mhm.
but it's an
Yep.
accounting formula based on, and everyone is different.
Mhm. All right, any questions does the board have any questions first, or, and then I'll do the public, yeah. Yes, later.
Yeah, I just have one question that I should have asked last week. Does this include the Southwest, and I know it does with Mount Desert, Mount Harbor. Do we get investigation, for cases? Do we
Yes.
work the cases through?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's part of what we pay for.
Yes.
Okay, any other question? Keith, I can't believe you don't have anything to say.
Right.
Just waiting, or what, you want me to put you on the spot and give you?
Intimidated by this big guy sitting there.
Yeah, I know, he does look kind of, yeah, he's big beside you there.
Well, I don't think, I have been terribly unhappy with what the sheriff's department are providing. I kind of am on the front line and see them quite often, and see them in our station, but, I can certainly understand the difficulties of keeping staffing, but, I hear from the school that one of them goes in and works, one of them evidently is French, speaks fluent
He speaks French and
He's been going in for a couple hours a week, he's working with kids, teaching them French. But I mean, that's outside of what they really need to be doing, but I think that's great. But, yeah, again, I guess, I think it's poor timing to do anything different right now.
Okay. Yes, Scott?
I'll just make a comment, and I don't wanna disagree with it, but quite honestly, that's exactly what I want my people doing.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Some of those
yeah.
purpose things there. I'm not saying you're wrong or anything like that, but, the first time I saw that, I got a note from a person down here. We had a child in that class and loved it. And I talked to my patrolman, and he wished he could stay all day. So he had a pretty good time. Those are parts of community policing that should be doing.
What are you guys thinking? We don't have any more questions.
Well, I think Southwest came back and answered all of the questions we had last week and made it a little clearer. It was a little vague last time, but it's definitely clearer this time, so.
Yeah, it's a lot clearer as far as I know last time, it was hard to tell the difference with the 24/7 versus 24/7 as far as how it was worded.
For the sheriff's department, how you guys making out with hiring?
A couple months ago, I was fully staffed. That lasted one day, and I lost somebody. So we were down one. But starting in December, I had a deputy go out, with shoulder surgery, gonna be out for 6 months. I had 2 people out on maternity leave and one at the academy, so 1 opening turned into 5 openings. The 2 are back from maternity leave now, so that fills that. The deputy that had shoulder surgery started light duty today, but it's probably still gonna be a couple, 3 months. And I have a commissioners meeting tomorrow where I'm gonna request permission to hire a person who is the blue pin. And the blue pin is a full-time academy graduate. It's just a matter of finding the money to buy that person back. And when I say that, about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer, John, that the academy put a program in place that if you hire someone from the department and they haven't been there more than 5 years, you have to repay them a portion of what that cost is. So this person hasn't been out quite a year yet. It'll be in May, it'll be a year, and the price tag is astronomical. It's like $47,000. I've got about half of that in reserve accounts in this year's budget. I'm gonna ask the commissioners tomorrow, see if they will use, some of the ARPA funds to make that difference up. If could, I could hire that person. They would be on board within a couple, 3 weeks, buddy. They'd have to give a 2-week notice where they are. Then we'd have to put them through our FTO program, so. But the other thing is, that Jesse brought it to my attention that I forgot, we now have a deputy who lives here in Southwest Harbor. He worked, he's an academy graduate from Androscoggin County, worked there 6 years. His wife is a nurse practitioner, and they moved up here. Apparently, one of them had some family land here. We got a high recommendation from the chief deputy and the sheriff down there, and we contacted him and said, yep, I'd love to come to work for you. So to answer your question, the Reader's Digest version is we're getting there. The person with shoulder surgery is gonna be out a while, and the academy, the kid in the academy, has 9 more weeks to graduate. We'll graduate late May, and we'll be back on board. So realistically, we should be able to give you a little more time, and not to blame but us. We just didn't have people to do that, and with the state police cutting back on their services, we have to fill those gaps as well. So fingers crossed that I'll be back full staff by the end of May, and we'll go from there.
And we've also got a potential approval for another position once we get full staff from the commissioners as well. So, we'll be full staff plus 1 hopefully in the very near future. So we'll be able to fill those shifts accordingly.
We just made promotions. I don't know if all of you know him. This is Brian Archer. He's a newly promoted lieutenant, very, very sharp. Proud to say he's the first person that I ever hired when I became sheriff 10 years ago. Outstanding young man, very high ceiling. He hasn't reached it yet, but he's well on his way there. My other lieutenant is also young, and between the 2 of them, they do an amazing job. We did promotions. I now have 4 sergeants, and each one of those sergeants, when we get all of these positions filled, including the new one that Buddy was just talking about, we'll have 3 patrolmen working with those sergeants. So we'll have 4 people every shift working. So there should be absolutely no issue at all of filling that 45-hour commitment. So, they will say if my fingers are crossed, hopefully that we can fill all those positions and have that filled. So as long as the state police doesn't cut back anymore, you know, we'll muddle our way through it until we get fully staffed, but I feel comfortable with the new crew that I have and the new leadership that I have. I have a new chief deputy that's coming on board Monday. He's currently finishing out where he is now. He's got 33 years of experience. He has 17 years as a patrol sergeant and 4 years as a chief deputy. And I talked to him before I came down here, and he said, I cannot wait. And the thing that I like, he likes working with young, new people. So his knowledge and stuff is gonna be valuable, and I will bring him down and introduce you as soon as I get him here and a couple of weeks under his belt. I'd be glad to bring him down and introduce you. So I'm very excited about getting him on board.
Okay, thank you.
How long are all these proposals for, Jesse? They all the same?
Yeah, we don't have an actual proposal from, Hancock County, so we just have next year's budget. But
So it would be a 1-year contract if we,
unless the voters, if you send that to the voters and the voters approve it, they'd be approving a 1 year, but it's up to you
I
to
told
have a
Jesse-
contract.
Excuse me. I told Jesse ahead of time that we have a 6-month contract now, expires the end of June.
Yeah.
If in fact, you go with us, we will just extend the same thing from July 1 till the end of December. Next year is the last year of the current contract we have. Salary increase will be 6%. I have no idea what the workers' comp stuff of that, so I'll be able to look at that and give you some estimates for that. That'll be the end of the contract that we have, and we'll have to renegotiate with them. So you can throw that figure in the back of your head, roughly 6%, and a little bit up more in there when you start talking workers' comp, FICA, and all those good things.
Okay, so just to be clear on, just so we know, what is the hourly now? Is it 80?
82.
82, okay, so it'll be 82 an hour for
this year.
yeah, for the rest of, the remainder of this year until
Right.
January 1st.
Yep.
One thing just occurred to me too, is the Southwest proposal, does that include animal control? Animal control officer, do you do any of that?
No,
Okay.
it does not.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin, the county now has an animal control officer that you can contract with.
Okay,
I don't know what the rates are. It's not under my
okay,
control. It's through the commissioner's office, but they have a lot of towns that have signed on with that, so we can find out for you what they charge.
Okay.
They charge per incident, that, you know, it's not
yeah,
a thing, so it may be
yeah,
so much an hour to come down and pick up a dog and that kind of stuff, but
I-
that is available.
yeah.
And I know the headaches it is trying to find an animal control officer.
Yeah, I think we're doing okay, I just was curious if that was part of the contract.
I don't have any questions,
Okay.
they've all been answered, I think. And I think my biggest problem is response time, and that's something we really gotta consider, so.
I know, I think our, the complaints that I have heard just, were just the lack of the 45 hours, you know, just reduced hours, and then, you know, the time of getting here has been the same thing, you know, we've heard that before. That's the same, thing that's been for quite some time, so obviously, you know, a closer agency is gonna be, closer department is gonna be a lot shorter time. It's just, it is what it is, it's just, you know, but the lack of hours has been, you know, the only new thing I think that we've heard.
so Jesse, it's just a dollar amount, the motion, correct? So approved to spend up to this much. Can you put both departments on the ballot so the town can choose what they want?
So, you have multiple options there.
'Cause I think that's what I would like to do. 'Cause
So,
I go either way.
you can choose, the only way to do a multiple choice on the ballot, according to MMA, and I have talked to the town attorney as well, would be to have one article ask to choose one department and raise and appropriate those funds. And then the next article reads, should Article 1 fail, would you like to go with this option? So it doesn't let them, I mean, in a way, it lets them choose. They vote no on the first and yes on the second, or yes on the first. The risk to it is they vote no to both, because they don't like either of them.
There you have it.
Then you'd have to do something else. The best option MMA provides for multiple choice is open town meeting. So you can discuss it at open town meeting, and somebody makes a motion for the one that they prefer. You have to put whichever number of them you're considering, you have to put the highest amount on the warrant, so everybody in the town is aware that you might spend that much money at town meeting. The other option the town attorney gave me was, if you wanted to do, it's a multi-step option, but if you wanted to do a straw poll at town on the election, to gauge from the voters that come to the ballot who they want, and then at town meeting, there'd be a question authorizing all three, so that the select board has the authority to contract with all three of them, and then the warrant article and the town meeting would have to choose which amount, which would then govern who you can contract with. The issue with the straw poll is you've got a different set of voters on Monday than you do on Tuesday. So just because 150 voters say they want Department A doesn't mean the 70 people on Tuesday have to choose Department
That's
A.
complicated. That's
Yeah.
way more complicated than necessary.
That complicated.
No.
And I feel like it's the same thing though with the multiple choice, as you call it. You know, if this doesn't pass, then it will be this option. So I think people are gonna get confused when they hit I think the clearest way, if you're gonna have multiple choice, is to have it on open town floor, open, town meeting. But of course, then you only have sometimes 30, 50
Right.
people, and
Whoever
it's
shows
a
up.
hard way to gauge, what you have. I think
That can get swayed pretty easily.
yeah, no, I know. And I think it puts us in a real hard spot to make a decision, but I think, in the past, the select board always makes a decision, and then if the voters don't like it, they'll turn it down. I mean, that's, I think it's the clearest way, as much as, cause I walked into this thinking, let's give a couple options, but then when Jesse said, oh, you can't just put option A, pick option A, or I thought you just circle which one you want, and that's it. I mean, it's that easy, but when he said that's not an option, I just think the rest of it sounds extremely confusing to people who are there trying to vote. If this doesn't pass, you would do this, and, I mean, I'm up for any other ideas, but.
If you put on the open town meeting, if you just stick to your warrant article for protections, Article 18 protections, which includes law enforcement, fire department, ambulance service, animal control plan unit. If you just stick to that, it's gonna be the total number encompassing all of those. But if you, for instance, pick one of the two higher proposals as what you're including, that technically gives the select board the room to choose two. Because you're not asking specifically for Southwest Harbor, you're asking for up to 336 for law enforcement. If for some reason you should choose after that, then Hancock is the only option or the best option, you're authorized to spend the money that would pay for either department.
But then that just pushes this decision down the road a little bit, basically, yeah. That's,
Yeah.
Not that far.
no, I know, that's why I'm like, no matter how you shake it, that's what, Scott, did you have something?
Well, I was just gonna say, I told Jesse that if they don't pick A or B, and I'm classifying us at this point as C, then we wouldn't leave you in a lurch. If both of those, we would as I said earlier, we would extend at the same hourly rate that you're paying for the first 6 months. we just wouldn't do that to it.
Yeah, okay.
And when is your town meeting? June,
May,
May? Oh,
yeah.
for some reason, I'm thinking June.
Yes, Larry.
But somebody on the floor could put in a lower amount, and then you wouldn't have any money to spend on law enforcement or.
Yes.
Right.
Only,
Yeah,
only if it
why
get
not?
approved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only if it got approved, but yes, it's a,
It has to be
as we
lower.
all know, I know you've been there many times, and some years it's a good turnout, some years you get 70, 75 people, other
Yeah.
years it's 25 or 30 people, so it's,
If it loses on the, if it gets turned down on the vote on Monday, then there's a chance we might not have any law enforcement for the fiscal year 2025.
yeah, I think, well, Scott just answered that no matter what, they would be willing to do from July until January 1, for the remainder of the year, no matter what.
But if you, where would you get the money?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying,
Mm.
yeah, I understand now.
Voters could turn down all the money.
Mhm.
Yes.
Then, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I can simplify it a little bit.
Okay,
Bar Harbor is more than twice as much as the next closest contract offer. And they're, I think, actually providing more coverage than most of us were looking for. So can we safely agree that Bar Harbor is probably not gonna be where we go?
I would say that.
I would agree.
yeah.
Okay, okay, so that eliminates one of the options right now.
So close, Kevin.
And I think the
Okay.
town is
Yeah,
also
yeah.
split
Okay.
on both
Oh,
of you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
all the reasons that we all know.
Yeah.
You know, not being able to fulfill the 45 hours, which we can go talk about this a million times.
Yeah,
Okay.
and as I say, I'm not offended by any of the thing. I understand where you're coming from. I understand budgets. I understand that you're not gonna please everybody and that, and you've gotta do what's best for the town. I get that, and so please don't think that I'd be angry that you didn't do that. I'd be disappointed because of the length of time that we've had the relationship here in the town of Tremont, but you guys gotta do what you gotta do.
And the non-fulfilling the amount of time that we're supposed to be here per contract is not for lack of effort, you know.
No, I
it's like,
totally
we
get
just
that.
have a very
Some people don't.
you know,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
select amount of people that we can fulfill shifts with, and, you know, we have about 2/3 of the county, and that has to be our obligation before any town contract.
Yeah.
And we've been putting overtime out there left and right, the guys are working their butts off, and we put out Tremont and Stonington contracts, just trying to get people to fill them. And we say, look, whenever you wanna work one, just let us know, and we'll fill it. And it's just, they're so burnt out, that it's just, you know, it's almost impossible to get people to come and work more, cause they're just working so much already.
Yeah, and it's not best to
Yeah,
overwork them.
we don't wanna burn them out. I mean, we're certainly, like I said, we're trying our best to get people to come down here. You know, it's just, with the scheduling issues that we're running into with the state police, it's just, it's been an uphill battle. It's, you know, we wanna be down here. It's not, something we wanna give up.
Yeah.
I would ask you to put pressure on your county commissioners. They're the ones that hold the purse strings, and again, I know budgets, I get it, but if we had more people, we could spend more time down here, and the town wouldn't have to spend that extra money as much. So, I mean, there are a lot of solutions to make it all happen, is not as easy as it sounds. You know, there were days when we would advertise for a position, and we would get 12, 15, maybe 20 applications. Now, if you get 2 or 3, you've done well, and I'm thrilled that we had 2 blue pins applied this time. I can't remember the last time we had a blue pin applied for anybody. So, we changed the culture in the office a lot of it reflects on the young people that I have in command staff positions that understand what we need out there, and we're starting to draw some of those people in, so hopefully that continues.
I know you were gonna finish up, I
Yeah.
just had Larry's had his
Okay,
hand up
sure.
for a sec, I'll get Larry and then
Just say something
Kevin.
short.
Yep.
You know, for $135,000 award for Southwest versus the sheriff, we're getting emergency coverage 24/7. You know, and a short distance for them to respond. And we're getting more enforcement instead of a presence. When the sheriff was hired way back in the early 2000s, the select board wanted a presence. They didn't really want enforcement, and the sheriff didn't really have time to do that. And, so now we will. I wish we could go with, Bar Harbor, but that's kind of dreaming, so. I think
Well,
for
technically
130,
speaking, you still have 24/7 coverage, this is provided by the sheriff's office.
but not appropriate response.
Well, I get that, but I mean, the
People in
geographics
the
of
town
it.
want a quicker response.
I understand what you're saying.
That's come up.
But the geographics of it, 7/8 of our coverage area is on the other side of the bridge. So it's just,
Yeah.
we try to station our people in a way where they can respond quickly to Tremont if they need to, right? And occasionally, we do call down here to
Yeah.
call and say, hey, would you mind sending somebody over for the time being, right? And I get what you're saying, it's just, you do have the 24/7 coverage, it's just, I understand that people aren't happy with the response time, so that's just because of geography, it's not because of.
We're paying that for their taxes.
Yeah, I
Our
understand.
county taxes,
Yeah, I understand.
like they are, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just my own 2 cents about Bar Harbors, I think they have a phenomenal, system going. Those guys have, they've done a great job joining with Mount Desert. I just think it's me personally, I think it's a huge, huge step for Tremont, and, I don't know if it's, if we can afford it. I think that's the biggest thing. It's a great service. I
It would
just
be a
think
big
it's-
step in bringing the island together
Yeah.
in the future for everything.
Yeah.
But I really say it is too much.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. All right, sorry, Kip.
I just wanted to add to what Brian and Larry were discussing, which I mentioned to the sheriff earlier, was, it may be, if the decision is that the town wants to go with Southwest, it may be just simply, like Brian said, it's not necessarily something the sheriff's office can fix or can change. They just are off the island, and the townspeople may be moving towards being less comfortable waiting that long. And that aspect isn't any fault of the sheriff's office. It's just, as he said, geography, that's where they are. So what do the voters want? Do they want to wait that long? Are they comfortable waiting that long? Or are they not?
Yeah,
No.
that's why I wanna give them both to the voters and say, pick one.
I think one of the things is, you're talking geography, we're the end of the run. You don't drive through Tremont going anywhere.
Swan's
You drive to Tremont, yeah, maybe, you gotta wait for the ferry then, Eric.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's definitely an effort to get here. You don't do it accidentally. I was gonna suggest, I think where Eric was going, approve the larger amount, have the discussion at town meeting. I don't think we're gonna get my experience is when you start talking law enforcement, you don't get a small turnout. People show up and let the people in town decide. I think that's a realistic option. I don't have a problem.
I don't wanna make the decision because it's too controversial over
It's
throughout
kind of
the
our
whole
job,
town.
though.
And
The 5 of us are supposed to make terrible, awful
Yeah.
decisions. It's like, none of this is fun for any of us.
Well,
Like,
and
none of it.
I think part of it is this is taxpayers' money, and I think it really depends on Southwest contracts half again as much. I think people need to speak and say what they value. Are they willing to pay that much more in taxes for probably quicker response time or not?
Haven't we given them the opportunity, though, to come to meetings and things like that, though?
Well, they get to vote on it at the town meeting and discuss it openly. To me, that's a really good, approve the larger amount, let the voters decide which one they want to go with. And, if we gotta make a decision, we can do it, but I honestly would be more comfortable with people sitting at the meeting, hearing the options, and making the decision themselves. There's benefits either way. I've been happy with the sheriff's department. I think the people are incredibly professional. I've been really happy with everyone I've talked with. I've never had any problem with response time, but I've been fortunate enough not to need it. So, it's, again, and I've heard from people that aren't happy with it. So, and again, it's the geographical thing. So I think a realistic option is have an open discussion about it and let the people vote.
The only thing I worry about with that is just the amount of, voters that, it's not that, I just wish it could go to, to really get what the voters want, then you would put it on a ballot, because then you get 300 voters, like we had, was it last year, 300-ish, versus, the 40, and I just hate to see, I know you can say everybody can come, they never do.
And
Well,
it's not
I
that
guess-
important to them.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I know.
Well, the
I
other,
mean,
the
you
other
can-
choice,
Have
can
a
we
glass
have,
and break
can we
plate.
put it on the Monday ballot with 2 choices? If we've already eliminated one of the 3, can we put it on with 2 choices?
Then if they
A or
don't
B?
know both.
No, because you have to give them a no. You have to give them a no option, so it still
Okay.
makes 3 choices. And the winning choice has to receive 50% plus 1 by state statute. So if you give them 3, what with the no being of their choice, like none to no to anything, you run the risk of
Not getting 51%
not
on
getting
anything.
50%.
No, I think you're right. I think that's not an option, just because I think it's gonna be very confusing to people, and I think I think you're right. You're gonna have to, as much as I hate to say it, I don't like doing that, the open, because it seems like whoever wants to be the loudest at the town meeting sometimes can change things, and it's hard to control everything to do with that, but, I think that's probably,
That's why Pete gets the big bucks.
yeah, that's what, yeah. It's either that, or we make the decision, because I don't think that, but I think it'll just be so difficult for people to understand voting yes on, no, or yes and yes.
And
What if
once-
they say yes and yes, and, so, but yes, like,
Is one of the responsibilities of the select board, is it the overall safety of the community, or is it just the dollars and cents? I think it should be the safety. You think of the safety of the people, the community. They're coming up and complaining about that they're not getting
no, I know.
safe with the coverage we have.
And I see what you mean, Larry, I understand, and I, in the past, we have made that decision. I think, like Eric said, this is just something that, change is hard for a small town, and, if there's, whether people want it or don't want it, it's hard for us to make that decision. So,
I still hear, Larry, from people both ways too.
Yeah.
And I've been asking people, what do you think? Southwest, Hancock County, and people still go, it's a mixed, it's almost 50-50 from what I've heard, but everyone hears different things.
Things happen, good and bad, to everybody. When something bad happens to you, you want people around to help you. And, people think that it won't happen to you, but it does. It happens to everybody.
Jesse, we're gonna say something.
I was just gonna say, ultimately, to Larry's earlier point, it is, even if you make a decision, it is still up to the voters, because they can change the amount. So, if you wanna make your decision to pick, Southwest, the voters at open town meeting can say, no, we wanna raise and appropriate 201, therefore choosing Hancock. Yes, if you pick Hancock, then the voters can't change it to Southwest, because they can't raise more at town meeting.
So don't you guys think maybe it's time to really start thinking about consolidation? I mean, Bar Harbor and Northeast Harbor have done it. We're gonna have to do it with fire departments. We're gonna have to do it with a lot of different services, and this might be our first step. I mean, I have good
I don't
things to
disagree.
say about all of them, and I don't know.
I think we're headed that way.
Maybe not now, but
Yeah.
like in a few
Yeah.
years, it's coming. And some people are for that, some people are like dead set against it, so.
It's like they were for the high school 50 years ago. Right?
True. I mean, they're talking
So-
about consolidating schools and stuff like that, so, I mean, that's where we're headed.
Besides that decision, maybe we should do, what does everyone think on the board, about how we should send this? Maybe we should start off with that. Should we give an option, do it at open town meeting, or should we make the decision and go, and put that on? Or we can do that either way. That could go on the ballot, that could go either way. I think that's the first, I guess, it's the back route way of getting to where we need to be. Kevin?
I've spoken, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
You think we should put it on
I-
open
yeah,
town?
I
Yeah,
do.
open, okay.
Yep.
Howdy?
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to do it that way.
The floor of town meeting, that's what you guys are?
Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
Just because, but I'm fine with it. Yeah, the only other option would be approve the three, whatever it is, and have them shut it down, and, but, you know, people might not see that other option if they're just voting on the one
Yeah.
number. That's what I worry about, you know, but,
You would have to discuss that in open, so if you put the higher number and they voted on it and turned it down,
So if you're just looking at open town meeting, then you've got two options. You can simply choose the higher number in your protections line, which as read from the warrant just says Article 18 protections, to raise an amount not to exceed, and it's the total for everybody. So yes, they would need to know what that means and discuss it. Or you can have a separate warrant article specifically for the law enforcement contract that says Article X to see what action the town will take regarding a contract for police services and what funding will be raised and or appropriated for fiscal year 25.
With
And
no
then
amount,
as a
no name.
recommendation, list, Hancock County, Susquehanna, South Harbor.
oh, it will have the amounts on there so they can see it. I like that, having it separate and then having it broke out like that.
I agree.
and that's on open town meeting. But yeah, once again, it's at open, so we're,
Right, but I just wanted to make sure that they had the numbers in front of them.
And it's clear.
Yeah,
it's
right.
not
I get you.
confusing.
It's
You
not
have
just,
two
oh,
with two
300,000,
numbers.
but
Yeah.
who's that for?
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I like that idea.
okay.
Would
It's-
it also have an explanation about what we're getting from one, and what we're getting from the other?
I think that would come out in conversation, discussion, then
Yeah.
obviously there'd be a lot of discussion
That's
around
the
it.
important part.
Just have both
You think?
contracts in front of, Pete's doing it again this year, isn't he?
Yep.
Yep, cause he'll be moderating usually I don't ever have to answer a question, but maybe I will this time.
If it's on open town meeting, a prior public hearing would be at your discretion, because the open town meeting is, but if you wanted to have one, you could.
It's not terrible to get people thinking about it, because then it's gonna spread the word around town more, so hopefully there's better turnout for the town meeting. Maybe, I don't know.
I know, I think it's been hashed and rehashed over enough that
has.
I think that, if people felt that strongly, either way, you'd see more of a turnout right now. So, I think put it on, put it there and just advertise it well. Make sure
Yeah.
everybody knows that,
Know
if they
what
have
to
a
get
strong
from each
feeling,
one.
then, yeah, they need to be there to voice their opinion. So. Is that the way you guys wanna go then?
Yep.
I think
A
that was
separate
the-
warrant article.
Yep, it sounded like the majority.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we agree on it.
So for budgeting purposes, just so I can anticipate, I'm going to put the highest in the
Mhm.
budget
Mhm.
for the rest of this process,
Yep.
in the event that it's the one that's chosen.
So it'll be the the 336 number will be in there, and then it will list the two. Yep, okay.
Is what it is. Put it to the voters.
Could have put it better myself.
You guys should come to town meeting, it'll be fun.
I've got three now I'm gonna go to, but if you invite me and let me know when it is, you know?
May
I
May
got-
14th, you're invited.
I'm sorry, is that what?
Yeah.
Remind you, Scott.
2020, yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have all three there, or at least the heads, just to talk to the people.
Is that on
Absolutely.
Saturday, or is that
No,
No, Tuesday.
Who's that?
on Tuesday?
6:30.
Sunday morning, 6:30.
When it ends? We all good with this?
Yeah,
So what would you
Appreciate
like
your
for a
time, guys.
motion for us, Jesse?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ranger.
I know.
Thanks for coming. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
See you, John.
What would you like for a motion, Jesse? What do you need?
I don't need one because you're gonna approve the warrant.
Okay.
So
I
just,
know what, but you like the question I proposed.
Yeah, just read it so that
To
we.
see what action the town will take regarding a contract with police services and what funding will be raised in or appropriated for FY '25. And then it says, and it does say here, you could do for Hancock County, 3-year contract, 45 per week, raise and appropriate. Southwest Harbor, 3-year contract, 24/7 coverage, raise and appropriate. They have a small explanation there on it.
Yep. You just wanna make sure that you, cause Scott said they could only do a contract through until the first of the year for
Yeah,
that
we can
amount,
do
so just make sure that you have, the,
6%,
what's that?
he said the increase,
Yeah, but then he said there was some other things, so there's like, it would almost be two separate, contract, just because there's one from now until January, and then they would have to start theirs January 1st, just because of how it
Right.
goes.
6%, and then workers' comp, and
Yep.
something else he said.
Yep. Okay, so just make sure it's very, it's clear.
Jesse, what number of warrant would that be?
I don't know that yet.
Be near the end, or it won't be in the beginning, because the school is?
Yeah, normally they're at the end. Yep.
We'll put it the first one, Larry.
We can bump the school.
What do you want, are you trying to get out of there quick, or what? What's the-
That'll be through the school.
Yeah. Okay, are we good?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have, D, which is the 2024 annual town meeting referendum ballot.
So, this week is the deadline for submitting the ballot questions, that the clerk needs to submit, to the ballot printer. So I just wanna go over and confirm which items you want on the ballot and which ones at open town meeting. In your memo, I outlined, that you had previously made motions to place the below items on the ballot. Land use ordinance amendment, site plan review ordinance amendment, comprehensive plan, Board of Appeals ordinance amendment, and library ordinance amendment. The following items you made motions to place on the warrant but did not specify by ballot, and that was the short-term rental ordinance and the senior property tax rebate. In view of keeping the ballot not 8 pages
7
long,
pages long.
if you want to, I'd recommend changing the Board of Appeals ordinance and the library ordinance, to open town meeting, because they're just minor changes, not really a big issue. And I would recommend, which I believe you all will agree, to put the short-term rental licensing ordinance on the ballot, not the other one.
Yep.
I think the senior property tax rebate is fine at open town meeting. I don't think it's
yeah, I don't mind doing the senior property tax on, open town meeting, cause I think that's, I do think the short-term rental ordinance where we've had so many, we've heard a lot about it, so I think that'd be a good idea to put on the ballot so that we can get as many voters as we can.
Do we need to set a fee for that before then, or?
You're
Yes.
gonna set it, yes, you're gonna approve the fee and the application before. the
Okay,
public
that's
hearing.
what I knew we hadn't completed the work there, so.
Yep. It's not part of the ordinance, but you would express that you wanted to set it
Yeah.
before the vote.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine.
And the library ordinance, you said is gonna be on open town meeting?
That would be my recommendation.
Yep.
Just changing the number.
Yep. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would help shorten it up a little bit there. Yeah.
And at this point, we don't need finished copies of the land use ordinance amendment and,
Right, you're gonna
Yeah.
certify them after your public hearing.
okay.
Mhm.
That's what it-
I motion to confirm that the following items, short-term rental licensing ordinance adoption, comprehensive plan adoption, land use ordinance amendment, site plan review amendment, be placed on the 2024 town meeting by referendum and recommend passage by town meeting.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to confirm the following items. Short-term rental licensing ordinance adoption, comprehensive plan adoption, land use ordinance amendment, site plan review amendment to be placed on the 2024 town meeting by referendum and recommend passage by town meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Whoever's reading the next motion, just leave off the resiliency plan, because that'll be at your next meeting.
Leave that off and then,
Off the motion, yeah.
okay.
I move to, excuse me, confirm the following items: Board of Appeals ordinance amendment, library ordinance amendment, senior property tax rebate ordinance be placed on the 2024 town meeting warrant and recommend passage by town meeting.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to confirm that the following items, the Board of Appeals ordinance amendment, library ordinance amendment, senior property tax rebate ordinance be placed on the 2024 town meeting warrant and recommend passage by town meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, that's all you need there, Jesse? Okay. Next, we have FY 25 budget. Now you get to really, oh, whoops, sorry.
Okay, you can go to that. Okay, so the budget, obviously I will update it tomorrow, with the protections line, so that'll go down. So in your intro, letter there, the graphs, all the numbers highlighted in yellow will change, by a little bit, okay? So we don't need to jump right into the tax rate increase, because it's gonna change. Currently, as proposed, with Bar Harbor in there, it's at 18% increase. Going through the budget, last meeting, I gave you the, changes that were over $5,000 to the budget. Does anybody have any questions they wanted to ask specifically before going
Anything?
So, look through the summary. Right now, the, administration expenses Eight
What
hundred
page you want,
seventy-six.
Jesse, just so that we can
Oh,
follow.
sorry, I'm in the budget somewhere.
Oh, okay, yep.
Six.
Yes,
Yep.
page, well, intro 9. it
Intro
says.
9. You see the, total administration is an increase of 7,845.
First time.
Sorry, yeah, your next tab there.
Next tab.
No, ahead, in the beginning.
First one.
Oh.
First tab.
Yep.
See, I'm not cut out for this kind of work. Gotcha, I'm with you, keep going.
Okay. Admin is up 0.9%, 7,845. Protections we'll skip over for now. But your fire department you previously had included is up 4.2, animal control 4.9. Ambulance service that you had previously included up 17%. Debt service, as we discussed last Monday, is down to 0. All the debt's paid off as of July 1st of this year. Recreation is the Harbor House contribution of 10%. Public Works increases 6.5%. Planning Board is down 46.5% due to their comp plan work being finished. That was in that Planning Board, other committees' budget. Your third parties that you had reviewed previously, up 20%. Solid Waste projected to be down 12.4. Your contingency is up 3.2, which is the cost of living adjustment this year. Transfer to reserves is down 9.5%. We had a big transfer last year for the reval, 62,500. That fully funded the reval, so there's no more needed for that reserve this year. Total municipal expenditures, that's gonna change. Police, currently showing 20%. Other revenues is down 17%. That's based on the reduction in the transfer in from revenue sharing, which is based on the last 3 years. The reduction of the harbor master transfer, and currently I have in there proposed $0 from your surplus fund, which is a big reason for the decrease there. As you can see previously, your surplus fund, last year was 129,000, the year before 155, the year before 254. As I said last Monday, you've always, the last several years have used part of that to offset the increase to taxes, due to the surplus fund being above where it needs to be. And each year we've added to the surplus instead of reduced it, which is what this line is proposed to do. Again, you'll see the education budget, which you previously approved, including Tremont School up 13.7. The high school assessment is down 1.1%. It's the only town that is down. That's based on enrollment. And the county budget is up 16.6, and the assessor's overlay is the same. Assessors recommended the same amount as last year. Can tell you. Plug it in now.
Just gonna ask if you have a rough idea on the increase, so we could talk about setting aside
Yeah.
anything to go towards taxes, just to reduce the rate.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Last year was, well, I'll wait until this time, 160,000, I think we put.
So, putting in the, changing the protections, brings the total overall increase to taxes up 12.8%, as opposed to 18.
And that's with Southwest number.
Yep, so it was 18.4, changing it from Far Harbor to Southwest, makes it 12.8 for everything.
Now, what did we put in the reserve this year?
What did we add?
What did we add, sorry?
54,000. So the current reserve balance is, 1,174,000.
Yep. And last year, do you know how much we took out of that to put towards taxes?
In the prior budget, FY '23, you used 155, and instead we added the 54. We're currently projected to take out 129 for FY '24, that we're still
So if we decided to put 155 in again, probably it's not gonna really end up that way. I'm just trying to think of, and how would that affect us, 155?
I can't, what was it, you told us too what the target was, I think at the last meeting.
Yeah, 790 to
900, it was 10% of your,
Yeah,
we had an equation that was
Yeah, I
with
remember
us
that.
before,
yeah,
and I remember how low we were when it was back a
Yeah.
long time ago. It was like
Yeah.
260,000 or something ridiculous that,
yeah,
and it's going up to,
yeah, but if we, I mean, there's a couple $100,000,
oh, I know, yeah,
you know,
if you took,
and that would keep us at the higher end of it.
yeah, even if you took that 174.
Yeah.
And just,
So I was thinking, I mean, that's gonna,
it brings it down to 10.2%.
at 155?
Yep.
Makes your property taxes needed for the municipal budget an 11.7% increase. And then when you combine the school, county, high
I
school,
think we should do that.
it's a combined 10.2.
yeah, our municipal budget isn't that much at all. It's mostly just the school.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're that much above
Mhm.
recommended levels and no surplus, I think we should use it to keep the tax increase down.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that, Jesse, about we're not taking too much out of it, are we? At even the 174, I was just looking at Kevin's note here, if we took 174, so we'd have an even million in there.
Yeah.
I think that's more than, sufficient, and it'll help the impact a little bit to the taxpayers.
Yeah, so the state's target is 10 to 12%, which would be 768 to 922.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we're at 200,000 over that plus, 200,000 plus over that,
Yeah,
so, yeah, I mean,
250, yeah, good.
yeah,
So if we did the 174, just
Yeah.
as.
You just have to, I mean, theoretically, your FY '24 is 129 coming out.
yeah,
I mean, we don't know until Don says. Historically, the last several years, you haven't, you've added instead of reduced.
yeah.
But, assuming.
So that might be coming out of that number, that 129, is what you're saying?
Which would still, I mean, still put you within your range,
Yeah.
10 to 12.
Let's do the 155.
Yeah.
I mean, that still puts us in the higher end of that range, even if everything goes worst case.
You comfortable with doing that, Jesse? You think that's well within?
I'd really rather not do a 13% budget increase if we can avoid it.
Yeah. Well, I think people need to understand that this isn't Jesse, this isn't us spending, this is it's the school budget, it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah,
Jesse's done very well to keep it as
No,
low
no.
as we possibly can. That's,
I agree, but it's still a tax increase.
Yes, oh, I know.
That's the bottom line.
yep.
And that's 13% is pretty hefty, oh,
Yep.
12.8, that's a hefty increase.
Mhm.
Trying to run us all out of here.
What's that?
What was the increase last year, Jesse, overall? Roughly.
Percentage was?
I think it was a little under 10, if I remember right, but I could be thinking of the wrong, I could be wrong, Larry.
My taxes went up a lot, but it could just been a lot.
Yeah, I think that mine did too, but I think if I remember right, the schools was a lot lower percentage last year than what it is right now. Because they came in high. I think didn't they come in at, I wanna say 16 or 18%,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
it's
it
crazy.
dropped way down to like 9, or, it was a huge change in the number. Later on in the budget cycle.
It was. Oh, and a reminder, as you all know, I keep trying to remind you, the rebound is gonna change. So it's not going to.
Individual properties, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That reevaluation.
Not everybody's is going to be 10%. The budget is, but their tax bill is gonna fluctuate.
Some are gonna be significantly worse than that, probably.
Oh, yeah, it will be scary for a lot of people because a house, the median house, in town we always used what, 250 for our number, or 200. And we know now that.
That's not the number.
Yeah, it'd be hard to find a house in town for 250, so.
Just how you're apparently.
So what do you need, Jesse?
He's still
So you're
researching.
still thinking?
Wow.
I need to spend more money on a better router.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta get a new computer too.
Right?
Colliders.
Oh.
Try to move away from you a little bit more, Kevin. The way you're
Yeah, I
coughing over here, everybody's getting sick.
I know, I don't think it's contagious, Marge hasn't gotten it, so, just can't seem to shake it.
Last year, the school was up 16.3. High
Is that-
school was up 9.4.
Yeah, last year was huge.
Yeah,
Mm.
municipal was 0.
Right,
So,
that's
so
all
the
I
overall was
remember.
9.4?
No.
Oh.
I know, it's weird format.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Jesse, and expect
It's okay.
instant.
Actually, 10.2.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew it was close to that. I thought it was.
Exactly the same. Yep.
I think we'll be doing very well to keep it at that. And that's also allowing for the extra budget for, police protection, so
Mhm.
that's an extra in there, so, yeah. I think I would take the 155 and apply it to it, and
Yeah.
seems reasonable, more than reasonable, really.
Well, that drops it down 2.6%.
Yeah. So what do you need from us, Jesse?
For tonight's meeting, just, any changes, if you wanna make a motion for the surplus.
How do you wanna word that,
Request the town manager to use $155,000 of surplus in the proposed.
Yep.
Okay. I make a motion to request the town manager to use $155,000 from surplus in the draft fiscal year 25 budget.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to request the town manager to use $155,000 of surplus in the draft FY 25 budget. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Yeah, thank you, Jesse, for
Yeah.
all the hard work into this and everything else. Next, we have the Wharf Blossom Lot parking area. I will take the brunt for this one, because I made Jesse put it on the agenda. Just so we all know, Jesse's father is doing a property next door, doing the septic system. The owners of that property were agreed to make $6,000 worth of improvements to that lot, while to allow them to use the town's access to do the construction on their property. It looks very nice. I think it looks great how it is right now. I know the town needs more parking down there. We've talked about this 100 times, and nothing ever seems to go and actually get done. I just feel like there's no better time than now to try to give him another $5,000 or $6,000 and make it a full parking area, you know, for what he can do. Put some stone on the front of it so it looks good. Howdy, this is more up your alley than is mine, but go down as far as you can towards the water. And
Yeah, I talked to him, he's thinking he could probably go 4 to 6 feet further.
Yep.
And rip wrap it.
Yep.
How many
And-
parking spots does that get you up there, if that's all?
It's a big parking area. I
Much.
drove up on there and I tried pulling in where it is now and backing out, and you'd have trouble backing with that ditch behind you. You know, I think it needs another 6 feet out in front of it. And then, what's he afraid of beyond that? How do you septic? Or
Well,
just
no, but that's just what it,
money wise?
money wise,
Okay.
that's what we
Yep.
was,
I think it would be getting close to the setback.
Yep.
yeah, it would be getting close also, but.
Yeah, I just know that parking's always an issue. There's a lot of people who would love to park down there, just not fishermen, but taxpayers, to be able to park there and you know, go out and use their boat or whatever. And I think it's a good chance to just put it in now and get it done with while he's there.
Does
He
it
also
do-
was- He was also talking about putting some rocks, cause it's quite a drop off there.
Yeah, yep. I think it would be a good idea, just after me pulling up. I was thinking of that, or some old pilings, put some pilings down and just anything like that to keep it from going
Just get
down.
rid of a bunch
You
of.
talking between
Yeah.
the road?
Yeah, that's right, you
and
did.
Section?
No, it's where it drops up, they'll be pulling in parking, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And did he talk about anything like where you first pull in, where it ties into the road? Could we grade that down and
He's
make
widened
it?
it, he's already widened that out.
I talked to Tyler this morning a little bit.
Mhm.
Tyler would like to see if we can widen it a little more.
A little more.
So that trailers could back up, like to
Mhm.
leave or back up into it for a minute. It's a little difficult the way it is now, the
Yeah.
angle and the approach.
It'd be tough for trailers no matter what.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, cause the angle of the.
Yeah, the angle of the road isn't, but I think it's good for just overflow parking. I mean,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's tons of parking issues down there. And when I saw it on, Sunday, yesterday, I looked at it and, it's almost down to where the tire is already. You know, the drop on the lower half of his gravel's almost to there, so you wouldn't wanna go much further on the entrance, cause you're gonna be into that tire. So if you just put some riprap stone on there and just to hold that edge, I think it'd be fine.
On the high side of it, I try to remember what it looks like, but obviously it's grass where you can park on the high side of that on the next
Yeah.
spot up. But could we gain any there and not lose parking on the top by just going 4 feet into that bank more? Or I don't even know if it's an option, but can we gain there or not?
We talked about it a long time ago, cause I've always felt that lot needs to be used. They really haven't done anything since they bought it.
Ever.
Yeah, ever, but I think that we had Timmy, if I remember right, we had Timmy go look at it at one point and said, if you cut, like you're saying, if you cut into that bank, take the upper parking lot basically out, the one that you're saying, the one that steps up above this one, cut it out, so you made one level big lot, that would be, you know, something, that would give you tons of room.
That would make
But,
sense, yeah.
I mean, it maybe that's a lot of excavation, that's a lot of money. And
Right, I was just wondering if we went like another 6 feet over there, could we have enough for vehicles to park on both sides of that?
No. You'd have to take a lot out of
It'd
it, and
have
I
to be a
think
whole car length.
right now, you're right on, I'm trying to think when I backed around there. I don't think there's any extra in that upper one now.
Right.
You'd have to take the whole thing out, basically, I think, to get, that bank is, what, 8, 10 feet tall, I think, at
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
And then you gotta think about ledge too.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a ledge in the back left corner.
Yep.
of the
And those
photo.
trees are kinda cool up there too. They are kinda nice big trees, I mean, no,
So do we have an idea from him, Jesse, on, roughly, okay. We could just put a lot up to number. I would just like to see it done while he's there.
While he's
He's
there,
done such
yeah,
a good job so
yeah.
far, it looks good.
I think we should do another 6,000.
Yeah, if we that's what my gut was saying, if we matched what they were putting in, is $12,000 that you're seeing for improvements there, that would give him enough to do it right.
so much for 10%.
I know Jesse's like, don't
Talk to me.
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? Emily, if we,
Has to come out of your war fund. So
Okay.
that's the only
Do we have that money?
tricky is hopefully.
We didn't give it all to Eric.
When FEMA-
Yeah.
I'm only billed for half so far, so.
When FEMA replaces it.
I know. If we stop getting these storms, we might actually keep something there for 5 minutes.
I did hear they're, well, cautiously optimistic they will hear from, have a decision on the January storms from DC, by next week, because they've given a deadline of next week to report your damage from this storm. But the email said they may push that deadline back if they get a response from a resident regarding the January storms by Monday, because it creates more work for them to.
How bad was yesterday at the wharf? I didn't go down there yesterday. right?
It received, Eric can elaborate, but it did receive some damage that's been repaired.
It was probably like an hour and a half with my crew
Yeah.
fixing
So it
it.
wasn't terrible.
Otherwise, it held up really good, the work, but
Yeah, the rest of it didn't move a bit, so.
didn't move.
It looked a lot worse than that. Like it was just a whole section was sitting up like this, just
Yeah.
hanging out there, so it looked.
The parking lot is slowly receiving damage from the storms. It's going on where the high tide is now coming up above the stones, the retaining wall. It's undermining pavement and taking out the finer material underneath, so the very front edge is squishy. The pavement makes noise when you walk across it. I think at this point it's the different layers are separating, and it's not necessarily caving in right yet, but the layers are separating and peeling up. Each storm, over near the ramp and towards the wharfhouse is getting pretty broken up, the pavement. So the launch side is included on our damage assessment to FEMA for January with an estimate to repave it. I submitted an assessment today for the minor repair to the wharf and the damage to the parking lot. We'll see if the county as a whole qualifies for FEMA again, I don't know. Locust Point, Crockett Point did flood yesterday as they did previously. Significantly deep, but no
102.
damage to the roadway.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, down by Archie's, I couldn't believe how that was flooded.
Yeah.
That was all the way up to Mike Vim's house. It was quite a bit in
Oh,
there.
wow.
Yeah. Can definitely tell where the low spots are in town.
Yeah, there was a good current going across Locust Pond.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need a motion on that, Jesse? What, oh, you don't wanna just take it, use your own judgment?
No.
Say $6,000, you think
I'd
this?
say,
Yep, up to, we'll just say.
Up to, yeah.
Yeah.
Up to, we'll shoot for 3.
No, don't be giving your father a hard time. Let him do what he has to do to get it done right.
You want your Christmas presents, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to specify where it's coming from, or does it matter? I mean,
From the work.
yeah, okay, you'd rather it was in the motion. I make a motion to authorize $6,000 up to $6,000 in expenditures from the war fund to improve the Clausen lot parking area.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to, ask the town manager to use up to $6,000 from the war fund to make improvements to the Clausen Law parking area. Is there any discussion? What?
Can you include the contractor in
Oh, okay. With, what's his
with
company?
Dunbar,
name, actually?
is it Dunbar and Sons Construction?
Okay, with Dunbar and Sons Construction. So Dunbar and Sons, would that technically be including you, Jesse, or no? Just give him a-
Other sons?
We never get to give mine. Is there any discussion?
How many other sons are there?
Just one.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
All those in favor? Sorry, Jesse. We're gonna
Thanks.
take it while we can, whenever we can.
Yeah, I know.
All right, suggestions for the next meeting? Date of the next meeting?
I make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2024, at 5 PM at the town office.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2024, 5 PM at the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?